So in the meantime, let's go through that starting grid. It'll be Topi Korteniemi on the pole with Ove Trangrade in P2. Togo Hisada starts from third. Then it's Sebastian Tixier in P4. Severi Seppa, good enough for fifth, flanked by Rob Olenek, who is a regular in this series. Bill Tyler starts from seventh. Xavier Sanchez, P8. And then row 5 has Will McDonald to the inside and Martin Versluwen in 10th.
Yeah, and here we see Thomas Kostron in 11th, ahead of Chris Murakami and John Olsen, Myro Hisaki. David Rossi, the F2 points leader, back in 15th, ahead of Ian Haycox and David Presley. Robin Brummer back there in 18th place, Richard Yarland. And then I think we finally get to the drivers who didn't qualify. So 19 drivers with the time, Joe.
Zazo, 20th, Olsen, Plumley, Maudsley, Quaylen, Lehman and Pereira.
Oh, no, look,
6 cars.
Laps.
Yeah,
Track
look at that. The numbers reset 24. I think 23 cars qualified.
Okay,
all right,
here we
and
go.
we get the engines revving as the lights come up. And
Let's
the
go.
green flag is out. Who is going to be good off the line here and who will be safe off the line? Into the Sabine Schmitz corner. And it looks like so far I'm not seeing any wrecks into there, which is a good sign. 26 cars are through.
Yeah, around the middle of the field, you had some drivers get better starts than others, but yeah, everyone was being well behaved there. So that was a pleasant surprise to see so many drivers set a time in qualifying, because normally not everyone does that. When we get to the Norsdshleife here, people are just about survival, but it shows you they all want to be up front, they all want to get ahead of the crowd, and so far the drivers who have put in a good qualifying time are able to spread out a little bit, as it's been a clean start by the leaders so far.
And now they hit fluke plots. Look, woohoo, all the way up into the air. Oh, this is an impressive sight, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Watching to see if everybody is able to get over there without wrecking here on lap 1 with cars so close together. It is very vulnerable to a huge pileup, and I think we're through.
Yeah, I did see a couple of cars going over that jump. Cars were bouncing when they came down to land and got a little bit squirrely, but everyone made it through. We do have one car in the wall. We do have one big wreck coming into the corner, and it's taken out a couple of cars at the back of the field.
Yeah, I see Zazo immediately taking a tow. Looks like Presley is now in pit lane. And in the meantime, the others kind of limp back to the track. Looks like Quaylen in the 15 amongst them, off the course through Ehrenberg. But our leaders are already up to Audenauer Forst now, and it is still Korteniemi leading Trangrade with Hisada in third. Looks like Kostron's had a problem. Oh, and behind him, cutting across the course, David Rossi in the 17 is over. That's Laust Olsen on his lid, immediately takes a tow so that he doesn't cause more problems. So David Rossi going to get set back with that cut course. He's down to 18th.
Yeah, the second major incident then. A lot of points are on the table, remember. All David Rossi needs is a decent halfway up the field finish, and he'll get a lot of points for it. So, yeah, the first wreck, and I'm sure we'll catch replays eventually, but the first wreck was actually started when Borja Zazo got hit from behind. He was the one who went spinning across the track, and hopefully we'll get a look at that later, but still a lot of action going on as we haven't even completed lap 1 yet.
Oh, another driver with a big wreck, Ian Haycox. And it looks like Richard Yolland has to pick his way around the outside as he sort of lost control. He's going to have to allow Brummer through there as Robin is able to pick up a spot from all the chaos in front of him. Attrition already rearing its ugly head, but a few drivers picking up spots here and there.
Yeah, and a lot of the attrition is from the back half of the field. And so that further emphasizes why these drivers who know they're racing for points, know they're racing for a championship, wanted to get the qualifying in and make sure they were in front of all that.
Well, they're already into Kesselchen now. Korteniemi has about 0.3 of a second over Trangrade. And Bravery Corner, if ever there was an apt name in this car for this turn, they have to slow up big time for this one. And Trangrade is definitely brave. He closes down to within 0.2 of a second. But now they run out of straightaway, sort of straightaway, here into Stylstrecke.
Yeah, and it's nice seeing the top three still bunched together like this, and we might not necessarily see any passing attempts for a little while, because of course there's a really awesome passing attempt at the end of this lap, along back straight, so as long as you can stay within a second or so of a car in front, you should be able to slipstream them down there.
Already through the historic carousel. Easy to slip out of there, but I'm not seeing anybody so far wrecking into the barrier on that one. Up to now the highest part of the circuit for the drivers. Korteniemi and Trangrade Hisada, three of our front runners in the points, all the front runners here in the race. Also got a bit of a battle behind them between Tixier and Olenek for fourth place, separated by about 0.3 of a second as they hit Vipperman.
Yeah, so just 3 cars remaining sitting in their pit stalls after the early incidents. Our first official retirement is David Presley, but we still have 22 of our 26 starters circling their way around this 12-mile circuit. As we're getting to kind of closing portions of the circuit here, you can never rest, but once you get to around this part of the course, you do start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, be like, oh, I'll be on the back straight soon, be able to relax a little bit, unless of course you're in the tight battle like our 2 leaders. They might not necessarily be able to relax as they come across a little dip there.
Out of Flansgarden and up to the Beloff S's. Again, these cars, no downforce. Look at them bounce around, especially through here as the track weaves back and forth, banking and curbs and bumps everywhere. Up into Swallowtail. Well, Trangrade is not leaving the tail of that number 3 car. A little bit off the apex for Korteniemi.
David Rossi, our F2 championship leader, has had a crash. He's ripped the front clip off his number 22 car. That's not what he needed.
Looks like he's still rolling, and I guess he did not damage the pace, but look at this. Korteniemi already out of Gallows Hill onto the Dodinger Hoa, and the slipstream starts to come into effect. Will Trangrade try and take this away, or is he going to hang out behind? He's gaining, late defense there from Topi Korteniemi, almost making contact. Remember, they're doing 190 miles an hour. That would have been an absolute airplane wreck.
Yeah, and the reason they want to fight for this lead, of course, as Ove has to lift off there through the kink and back off and accept that he's got to stay in second position right now. The reason you want the lead is, yes, of course, you can easily make a slipstream pass down the back straight, but if you're leading this pack, you can try and break away throughout the rest of the 11 miles of the course.
That got awful hairy for both of them at a couple of points. Lap 1 now done after all that. And I think we've got an opportunity to maybe look at some of our replays from the first lap. Let's see which one we want to spool up first here.
All right, Seb, you've got about 4 laps of fuel left.
The first one chronologically was Borja Zazo, and that might be what we have here. He gets rear-ended from behind, and his car just goes spinning across the course.
Yeah, somebody had their rear wheels go up in the air. I wonder if they were trying to slow down before they... Yeah, Presley maybe it looks like. And then he goes off, and everybody behind, that is your worst nightmare. Suddenly seeing wrecks happening on such a narrow track at top speed. And thankfully it didn't go any worse. In the meantime, is this Haycox? This is number 8. Of it was
oh, there's John. Yeah, there's Olsen.
Lost Olsen, unfortunately winding up on his lid. Olsen lost it kind of on his own, it looks like, and that thing got bad quickly. Wow, and once again everybody being incredibly heads up. This is Ian Haycox's incident down into Defense Valley, and that is a massive one. And of course, just picking his way around, I think that was Yolland that we saw almost outbraking himself, probably got scared into locking him up and all of that.
There's been some good wreck avoidance during all those replays, so kudos to the drivers still running. Not seeing a number next to Kostrone's name here, Thomas Kostrone, he had been in 14th place.
Yeah, and right now we're watching a battle in the mid-pack. We've come back up towards the front where we see Courtaniemi still ahead of Trangrade. Hisada doesn't seem to be able to hang as close. Maybe he doesn't want to be as close to them, as you talked about, being stuck behind another car and unfortunately being caught up in their incidents. Right now as they come down into Defense Valley, let's see if these three can get this one right. Very difficult downhill braking, and they're all cleanly through.
Yes, a confirmation. There was an incident from the number 8 car of Thomas Kosdrun, and he has had to take it to the pits. So another one falling by the wayside there. But yeah, again, going back to the whole points in here, Joe, as much as I'm sure all of our leaders want to win this race, let's not forget those in the championship and may be thinking a little bit big picture here. There's a lot of points on the table when the race goes split like this, because it's happened very rarely, if at all, throughout this season.
Yeah, I think the other times they've been just about at the max cars without splitting, as we watch the battle between Olenek, Tixier, and Seppa in there. Severi coming over from the Lotus 79s, which is a drastically different car despite its heritage. And as they come up through Castlechen, he's the back car of these three that you see in the kind of orange colors, chasing the yellow and black of Tixier. Ooh, sounds like things getting a little tighter for our leaders once again. Trangrade using that slipstream up Castlechen to reel back in the number 3.
Yeah, it's tighter, but he can't really do anything about it right now. Tells you how many winners, how many big names we've gotten show up here today when Ove Trangrade is going around in the number 10 car.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's usually a driver vying for wins in this series. And watching them down through into Vipperman here in a moment. And in fact, we hop on board a little bit farther back now. Excuse me, this is on board Trangrade that we see here in the number 10 out of Vipperman and up and into Ashbrook. This is where the track starts to crest, but as you said, it's towards the end of the lap as well. Does he try and sit and stay patient, as there's a lot of blinking from Topi Courtaniemi, which has got to be terribly distracting?
Yeah, that would definitely be a shame to see the race decided by some kind of connection issue here. Togo Hisada just minding his business right now in 3rd place. This is starting to look bad, Joe. And not talking bad in making our broadcast seem less realistic, but talking bad in I'm not sure if Topi will make it to the end if this keeps up.
Well, that was a great run there over the hill from Trangrade. Can he hold on to this through the Beloff S's as they get to the left-hand side of the course, try to break down into Swallowtail? He gets near him. He only has to stay near him from here. Heading towards the mini carousel now. Can they keep it within the banking? Both of them just staying off the left-hand side. Nicely done, but he drops back a little bit. Topi Courtaniemi now heading up to Gallows Hill. Ever critical corner exit on to the Dodinger Hoa. Last time Trangrade couldn't get the pass done, but he also had a little bit of a hindrance from Topi, covering him off. Will he do the same sort of move this time?
Already see them swerving across the back straight, trying to break that slipstream. Obviously, that only works so much. Ove's gonna get it no matter what. He pulls up alongside. Can't quite clear him though. Remember, he had to back off at this kink last lap.
This time he's through. Ove Trangrade, your new leader, just keeping it within the track boundaries as he almost glances the grass out of Antonius Beach, slowing it down into Hohenrain and up to T13. Hisada still watching from behind. Will he try and pull something tricky closer to the end of the race? We're already into lap 3. Trangrade getting the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at the race server, Joe. The race server these drivers have been assigned for is one that's based in Boston in the United States, which is kind of a shame for a lot of these drivers because I think we only have 3 or 4 Americans in the field. So that might explain a little bit why we see Topi blinking in and out. And Ove is now leading the race and going to try and break away from him this lap, and maybe he'll be able to stop Topi from pulling off the same kind of similar slipstream overtaking next lap around.
I'm sure this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. My goodness, they get a ton of air on these things now. Let's head a little bit... Oh, go ahead.
I think you and I are going to the same place. If we're talking about, these cars make their way over the jump. If we're assuming that if you're within a second or so of a car in front, you can theoretically pass them at the end with a slipstream pass down the back straight, then 4th through 10th is all still up for grabs. They're all part of one big pack here.
That's a fair point.
Oh,
wow.
P6, Severe Seppa, very close to getting on the grass there, and that would have not ended well.
That was out of the Swedish cross and down into Ehrenberg, but it looks like he's held it together. Now coming through Foxhole and into compression. Another very tricky corner out of here. Left-hander leading into Audenauer Force. This is where we saw a lot of problems on lap 1, but it looks like all 4 of these cars are able to handle it. Still being led by Rob Olenek in 4th position. That number 2 machine, the current champion, I should say, Rob Olenek, but has not really been in the hunt this season as much. So Rob just here, it looks like, showing up for a little bit of pride, seeing if he could notch up a win at the Nürburgring. And back downhill they go as things start to drop farther and farther in elevation.
Knock on wood, but a shout out to the entire field for lap number 2. I think Thomas Kostrom was the only one we lost. We started with 26 cars, 22 of them made it around the first lap, and 21 of them made it around lap 2.
And I think Kostrom was already dealing with damage too, so yeah, that is a credit to the survivors, I guess you could say, of the first lap. As they come up towards X-Mule, Olenek starting to separate himself somewhat. The car wiggles a little bit as he tries to get the power down up and over the crest and towards the Lauda Kink. This is where they're going to get pulled back in together once they come out of Bergwerks. It is a long, flat-out section up Kesselchen. Oh, no, and Seppa almost getting to the back of Tixier.
Clear.
Yeah, things getting very close there. Things also close, by the way, between our 2 leaders. I don't anticipate a move by Courtenay on Trantre yet, but it's proof that Trantre has not been able to break away from him or from 3rd place Asada.
All right, picking up speed, 170 miles an hour, just a little lift in a few places up here, and then through Bravery Corner down to 120 miles an hour before they're back on the throttle. Oh my God, look at the cars just slide around.
Oh yeah, I just accepted before this race started that I would be in all of the driving and everything. I know I can do this. I'd be what? Yeah, I would. Sorry.
I was going to say, the incredible thing is just thinking about the fact that they didn't have this Armco here back when this car actually raced this track. So if they were going to go off, they're not going to slam into metal. They're just getting shot into trees or off a cliff.
Yeah, I was saying in the virtual world, I would be one of those running around about 17th position, kind of just trying to make it to the finish. In the real world, I would be one of those getting a burger or something, sitting on the hillside, don't I?
Yeah, no, I would not have the stones for this one. As looks like Courteniemi still trying to chase down Trangrade. We've come back to our leaders because they are now getting close to the Dadinger Hoa once again, out of Brunchen and into the ice curve. Now plunging down towards Flansgarden once again, another spot where the cars will get air here. There you see them just crest over that little dip. And They've got a few more turns to go before they get the long straight. Looks like Quesada dropping a little bit through this portion.
Yeah, I think Quesada's content to just ride in third for now. I don't know if it'll be that way when we get to the final lap, but there's still a lot of racing left to go, even though they are coming to the 2 to go signal here.
Yeah, this is only going to be 60% through the race, essentially. So they've just about passed halfway. And here we go, out of the mini carousel, up to Gallows Hill. Who gets the good exit here? Anybody going to make a mistake amongst them? That could be race critical for any one of them. And Courtney does not seem as close to Trangrade as Trangrade was to him on the previous 2 laps, but he should still get a nice tow as they get close to 200 miles an hour, just picking up speed as the trees and fencing flies by them. He is going to poke his nose to the outside. No weaving from Ove, and they're going to go too wide up to the kink. Ove's going to give it up.
Yeah, I think Ove knows, well, he doesn't know, but he accepted the fact there that it doesn't really matter, I think, right now who's leading. All 3 of these drivers seem to have the same pace, so this little pack is going to stay together, and really it's going to come down to what position do you want to be in on the final lap.
And apologies to the rest of the field. I know we haven't covered a lot of it. My goodness, if we go to Olsen and Murakami, they just switched positions, but both of them went 4 wheels in the grass through Antonius Beach's kink. That was definitely worth a replay.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can pull this one up. This is not often that you survive it, and yet both of them managed to hold on to it. Here we go. Wow.
Yeah, this is actually quite telling, Joe, because we saw Ove Trangrade back off on lap 1 when he attempted to move it similar. These cars cannot go through that left-hander kink flat out safely. And that could actually have a very big impact on how these drivers choose to approach the run down the straight on the final lap of a race.
Yeah, so this is still Olsen and Murakami on your screen now. John just ahead of Chris by about half a second as they come up to Fluke Plots. Just a little hop compared to what we saw some of the leaders doing, who were getting a good, what looked like 5 feet into the air in these cars. And now through Cottonborn up towards the Swedish Cross, and it looks like Olsen has got the legs to start to drop Chris.
Yeah, but it's all going to be for naught if he makes a little mistake. As long as Chris has the slightest width of a slipstream, by the time they get back around to the back straight, things could switch around again.
Oh, Seppa's got a problem. Severi Seppa is off course. This is in Oudenauer Forst. And it looks like he's going to have to take a cut course penalty, but he avoids the walls. Did he hit the wall, actually? He's driving like something is wrong. Let's get a replay here on the number 1 machine. His visit over to Lotus 49 land has not gone well. Up and over the crest. Yeah. Oh. He's back on track right now, I can report, but I have no idea if that thing is handling well enough that he could keep pace. Got to think he's maybe trying to limp it back to the pits for maybe a little bit of repairs and hopes that he can get it into better condition.
Well, it might be handling all right. The reason we might have seen him so cautious to rejoin the circuit is because of the amount of cars that were nearby him. Every now and then when you have an incident like that and you're not sure how well your car's handling, it's best to... Will McDonald has had the spin.
Another one in Defense Valley. We see him getting it going. Thankfully, I can report he did not hit anything, so no damage. He'll return in 10th position after losing a spot back to Seppa. Well, I guess that just goes to show that Severi's method of just continuing on, even if the car is damaged, is worth it, because he got a spot. As we come back to our leaders, and look at that, up to 1 second back to Togo Hisada right now. Up to Bravery Corner. Car is getting on the brakes. And Trangrade still hovering within about 0.2 of a second. Stylestrecke could maybe be a passing spot if he's really brave, but no, not this lap.
Yeah, it's nice seeing a proper little race here. Not just between these three drivers. There's a bit of a moment there for Topi, but between the entire field. Sometimes when you come into weaker splits in iRacing, which obviously this is definitely not, the Nürburgring becomes...
Oh, Olenek is off. So I think this is another one in Stylestrecke. And I think he did hit the wall. He's showing damage on his car. Let's check out the replay, see if he made contact. Starts to lose it. Yep. Just rear goes in first, and unfortunately he hit the corner.
Yeah, these cars are a little bit resilient, but at the end of the day, that was a big impact. So, yeah, there we go, and the damage is continuing to take its toll, and things going bad to worse there for Rob Olyanek. I was about to say, it's been nice that we're not getting a race of attrition. You do actually have to drive well to get a good result today, but that being said, a little bit of attrition has picked up this lap among the leaders.
It's getting towards the end. Maybe drivers pushing a little too hard, and Olenek is going to lose it again. No! Thankfully does not make contact with John Olsen, who just about ran into him, and Olenek is now our latest driver to have to take a tow to pit lane. Whew. Well, back to Topi Kortaniemi, Ove Trangrade. And it looks like Togo Hysata now 1.1 seconds behind. So turning up the wick, the 3 and the 10 machine have made it from a 3-car battle to a 2-car battle.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how strong the slipstream is for Hysata here. I'm sure he might be content to just ride in third right now, but at the same time, I think he wants to make sure that he's able to stick with these two.
Yeah, and this is where he really can't get too much farther back than this 1 second gap, because he should feel some of the effects here on the Dadi Nohoa, which they have entered now. But it's not going to be all that great compared to what Ove is going to be feeling in Topi Kortaniemi, going back to the weaving that he was doing before. You can see that little bit of damage on the noses of the cars. That is pretty typical for this track, as they tend to bottom out. And they'll get a little damage side by side. And this time, Ove's going to try and hold it out. He gets 2 wheels into the grass and somehow still makes the pass.
Well, that's good for him to know there for the next lap, because, again, I think the car on the inside has to back off a little bit going through that left-hander kink. I don't think Topi really backed off that much. But it's also quite telling that Togo Hysata was able to run them both down from the second back.
Okay, well, here's the downside. Ove is now leading, and when he gets back around to the Dadi Nohoa, is that going to make it difficult for him to hold Topi off?
P4. This is the last lap of fuel.
Potentially, but let's not forget the only time we've seen Ove lead going down the back straight so far, he did not weave. He just kept his car in position and allowed Topi to get a run off of him. But if he hadn't done that, it would have actually been interesting to see who would have led through the kink, because Topi Kortaniemi, I think it was lap 2 or lap 3, that the lap he was in second position, he was actually quite far back of Ove Trangrade entering the back straight. So if Ove can get a nice run out of that final corner before they go down the straight and then weave a little bit, Topi hasn't had to deal with that yet, and he might have his work cut out for him trying to find a way by.
It's an interesting point, and well, you were right about Hysata. He was able to catch up and is once again back in the hunt, but we haven't seen him attack quite yet. It's a 3-car battle on the Dadi Nohoa, going to have a different dynamic. Will it change everything? And can they actually get to the finish? We haven't even mentioned that there's no guarantees, as hard as these 3 are pushing, that they will see the checkered flag.
Yeah, because if they crash out, they could finish as low as, I think, 19th position right now.
Yeah, we haven't hit lap traffic. Right now, last car is Matthew Maudsley, who's actually heading into pit lane. So it looks like David Rossi now in 19th is trying to recover after his problems early in the race. He's working on Jan and Lehman. Still watching our top three here on your screen through Metzgefeld and then down into Kallenhard.
Ove Trandre is probably having thoughts about trying to break away from second and third here. Of course, it would ruin any chance P2 and P3 have of winning this race if Hesada started fighting for second place. I doubt he's going to do that unless Topi made a real big mistake. Ooh. Oh, yeah, and especially if Hesada gets in the grass. Oh, way late on the brakes! Oh, he almost took them all out.
I think he clipped the wall as well. Not sure if he got much damage out of that. Looks like he's able to keep rolling at the very least. It's up to 1.1 seconds. How cool can Hesada stay? Can he catch back up to these two? He's going to get a little bit of the slipstream coming up through Castlechen if he doesn't lose too much more. This is good news for Trangarade and Korteniemi.
Well, I'm using the term relaxed incorrectly because there's no way these two can be relaxed when they're driving as fast as they are. But I've got to imagine Topi Korteniemi can feel a little bit more relaxed right now. He doesn't have anyone behind him, and he knows he's going to have the advantage of a slipstream coming around to the back straight in a couple minutes' time.
Oh, it's down to 1 second. Yeah, Hesada is indeed filling the slipstream. He is catching them. So he might not be totally out of it. However, Trangarade has been putting his foot down. Was there something in reserve for that number 10 car up until this lap? And is he suddenly unleashing it over the Finn?
It certainly seemed like he was trying to. In the opening half of a lap, he pulled up a big gap. Obviously, the gap has been diminished now because they just went through a fairly open portion of the circuit where Korteniemi was able to use the slipstream to run them back down. But now here we go into the twists and turns again for the next couple of minutes. Ove might try and drive on the ragged edge here. He doesn't necessarily have to break the draft. You know, he doesn't necessarily have to have a 2-second lead to have this work. If he could just have a second lead, a second or so, so to make it harder for Topi to catch him at the end, maybe he can try and do some weaving and pull it off. Because Ove Trandre, you know, throughout this race, he has been in second place. I think 3 out of the 4 laps that they've made it to the back straight. He's been able to use that draft. He's been able to feel that slipstream and what it does and how effective it is, and you know what Topi did that helped him, what Topi did that hurt him, and so he knows very much the situation that Topi Korteniemi is in here, and so Ove Trandre can, I think, maybe try and use a couple of tricks up his sleeve from his experience of being in second place, and maybe try and pull something off here. But he's very much a guy who's going to have to defend, and right now with Topi all the way over the back of him with only a few corners until they get to that straight, I don't know if he's done enough.
Ove has had 2 wins so far this season, and both of those wins, the second place finisher was Topi Korteniemi. Behind him right now is Topi Korteniemi. Oh, as he puts 2 wheels into the grass once again, just on the ragged edge around this lap, coming up into Swallowtail now. He's got it up to 0.6 of a second. I don't think that's going to be enough. If anything, Korteniemi might be about the right length back, as that would give him just the right amount of slingshot to have enough speed to get by him. Let's see what Dottie Nerhoa holds for them. And behind them by 6 more tenths, Togo Hesada is in it as well. What is this going to be? Who is going to be our winner come the end of this straightaway? Ove Trangarade now starts to weave as well. He was listening to you, Sam, as he goes back and forth, trying to see if he can hold up Korteniemi just that little bit more. They come up to Antonius Beach as they... and he's going to get to the inside. He's going to try and cover him off. He's going to make him go the long way around. Korteniemi tries to swing it wide, but it looks like Trangarade stays ahead, absolutely chucking it through. Hesada 4 wheels off. Now they start to hit the binders. Trangarade, has he played a master stroke here? He's almost off course, down through the final set of chicanes, and out of the last corner. Trangarade will get win number 3 of the season here at the Nürburgring.
Fourth place is still up for grabs between Sebastian Tixier and Xavier Sanchez, who has just pulled underneath him and taken fourth place. A great move by Sanchez through the kink.
Oh, the bravery of these drivers at the end of the race is something else, and it looks like Sanchez up from 8th is going to get himself into 4th. A nice little move. Watching to see if any other battles are erupting behind them, and it looks like they are mainly starting to peter out. Richard Yolland is chasing Robin Brummer for 13th position.
60 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, 18th place might be a nice one too, but yeah, no, Ove did exactly what he needed to do there. He had the big lead going onto the back straight. He swerved across the track because he knew he didn't have to win the race into the final turn. He just had to win the race into the kink.
Can also say that implications for the F2 championship, David Rossi in 19.
How many positions is he going to lose here? Has he crossed the line?
I think he has made it across the line. He's not moving. The finish line is very early, I believe, after that last corner. And again, Rossi in the 22, the second of these two cars, is fighting for that F2 championship. And as he comes across, he's not able to pass for 18th. They'll have to settle for P19 today, 4 places down from where he gridded up. And he is the second to last to come across the line. No, it looks like Maudsley is done. So let's head to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. That's a battle for position. Welcome back to the Nürburgring, and after round 8 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, Ove Trangrade gets his 3rd win, and for the 3rd time in a row for Ove, he's followed home by Topi Kortiniemi. It was 0.2 of a second at the line. Togo Hisada did not play into it as much as we thought he would, about a second back, but he still grabs himself a well-earned podium. Sanchez with a P4 late race pass on Tixier gets him that spot. Who followed him home in 5th. Bill Tyler, P6. Versluwen was P7. Severi Seppa did limp it home. Could have maybe done a little better, but unfortunately damage cost him as he finished 8th. Will McDonald was P9, and John Olsen finished 10th.
In 11th position was Chris Murakami, and then Miro Hazaki finishes in 12th place ahead of Robin Brummer. Good race for him. Richard Yarland back in 14th ahead of Robert Plumley, who came from 22nd to 15th, and Emmanuel Pereira didn't set a time in qualifying, so started 26th, finished 16th. Gary Quaylen finished with 17th, and then Hane Lehman, and then David Rossi, our F2 championship leader coming into the race. Don't know how, we'll still be leading the F2 points, I should imagine, going into next round, but the gap may have decreased a little bit. Last car on the lead lap after an early incident. Matthew Mouldsey was involved in a late crash. He is 1 lap down in 20th place, and then on the 3rd page here are drivers who probably won't check to see their names because they're probably already relaxing or practicing again for whichever race they go to next.